super excited today. We have Andrew Diaz here with us. Some of you guys know him as the Stock Market Wolf all over Instagram, and he certainly holds true to the name. We love to talk about money, mindset, and Andrew and I have all these things in common. That's why we get along so well. Teach, generational mindset and generational wealth and all of these things. And so today I wanted to do something a little special and bring you on to give all the good secrets.
Thank you.
All the good stuff. I'll let you introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about you. I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm super excited. Well, one, thank you for having me on. So about myself, for those that don't know, my name's Andrew Diaz, Stock Market Wolf on Instagram. And I really started this whole journey of getting into the market. I was 19 years old. When I was 19, I was a single dad at the age of 19. And I was working at the mall, going to a JC. I had went to St. Bonaventure for high school, and I played football, and I had dreams of going to like a university right after. But as soon as I graduated, like most of my friends, they went on to, 4-year. For me, I went to changing diapers, totally different. And I always still wanted more for my life, right? I couldn't just see myself, hey, I'm just going to work and be a dad. So I went to school. Long story short, I went to California Lutheran University. I graduated with a BS in bio. I barely graduated. My days would consist of, I would get up at 6 a.m, go to school, come home for a little bit, hang out with Tay, who's my oldest. He's 13 now. And then after school, after school, I would then go to work from 5 to 10. From 5 to 10, then I would get home, shower, eat, have dinner, and then study till like 1 or 2 a.m. Now, my whole life changed in that sense, but where it really changed was I get fired from work one day. And on the day I get fired, my car's all jacked up. I'm coming home, and my mom gives me a call. She's like, hey, I need you to pick up diapers for Tay. I'm like, okay. So I go to Babies R Us, which there was still a Babies R Us by then. And I go just get one little pack of diapers. Car doesn't go through. And I'm like, fuck. Excuse me.
You're like, oh my God.
Yeah. And here I am, and there's people behind me, and I'm just like, okay. So I go home, and my mom's like, where's diapers? And I'm like, oh, my car didn't go through. And she was already really disappointed. Her and my dad were super disappointed because, like, you don't want your kid to have a kid young, right?
And the whole situation is just not going
right?
good.
I'm a single dad, and I'm like, she's like, well, good thing you got a job, right?
Yeah, you're a good thing.
And I'm like, well, I just got fired. And it was the lowest point I ever felt in my life because, like, here are my siblings, too. They were A+ students, both went to UCLA. And here I am, like, I felt like the black sheep of the family. And I'm like, man, I had all this, what I felt like potential, and I just like shot it and slapped her across the face because my mom, she always stuck into us like hard work and wanting to do things. And here I am not doing them. And I like felt like I was getting nowhere, And so that weekend, my dad's always supported me. We've always, both of them have. And, I had him take me to Barnes & Noble. I'm a nerd, if you can't tell by the glasses,
Yeah.
So we go into Barnes & Noble, and I'm just trying to find any book. I love to read.
You're just like hungry,
I'm
searching
hungry
for something more.
Something, right? Just like, give me a sign, God, like something. And lo and behold, it's like the lights from heaven just like shown up on this book. And it's Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. Here I am, this poor dad, no job, going to a junior college, have a kid at the age of 19, and here this book says Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And I'm like, I got to read this. I didn't have money to afford it. So my dad and Tay and we stayed in Barnes & Noble, and I stayed there till I read it all. And I learned 3 main things about it: business, real estate, investing. And then after reading that book, I read the 4 quadrants and all these other books related to money. And so real estate, didn't have no money for real estate.
Yeah.
Didn't know what to do for business. But investing seemed like a nice parallel because I was always into video games and kind of computers. So I was like, okay. So what I naturally did after reading that book and reading his other books from Robert is I would then go and read anything related to trading, investing, and whatever. And I'm doing that on top of going to school. Fast forward, I graduate with my BS in bio from Cal Lu. I barely graduate with like a C because my days is super long. And but when I was at Kalu, we would have recruiters that would come. And here are all my friends in college because they don't have any kids. You know, they just hang out at school and they got their A pluses or whatever, and they're, you know, graduate valedictorian or whatever it is in college, right? Magna cum laude, whatnot. But they had no life experience. They didn't work. They didn't have kids to take care of. And we had recruiters, and I would talk to them and put a face to the name. And nothing happened. I was like, man, I don't know. So I went back to my alma mater, St. Bonaventure, and I was teaching chemistry. I was a substitute teacher for chemistry. And on the first day of school, I get a call from Amgen, the recruiter, and says, hey, you got the job, because I interviewed. I thought I bombed it. And I ended up getting the job. And I talked to the manager. I was like, man, I thought I bombed the interview. And she's like, well, it wasn't until like I knew about your story that made me relate to you, because she's like, I went through some struggles like that. And I had bombed the entire interview, and at the very end, as she's walking me to my car to escort me out of the premises, we were talking about, my kid has a soccer game. And I was like, oh, my kid, he's doing baseball right now. And she's like, you have a kid? And she's like, why didn't you bring this up? And I was like, I didn't want that to be a crutch, you know? And that moment, all that stuff changed my life. And, it's those little things from a book to a person that can really propel you in a certain direction. And sometimes all people ever need is just like an opportunity. And that's all I've ever needed. And from there, I graduate, get the job at Amgen 2014. 2016, I make my first mill, investing in the stock market, because I had spent all that time reading and stuff. And I've lived off of, I was making $7.25 an hour and working 20 hours every 2 weeks. So $280, really.
Nothing.
Like, I was just surviving. I wouldn't even call that living. And so when my first job at Amgen, I was making like 60 to 70K. Well, 3/4 of that went into the market. Along with the following year, went all in. And I invested in biotechs, which is what I knew. 2016, I make my first mill. Fast forward, 2017, I start a business teaching people. By 2017, I have 2 master's degrees. I have a MS in biotechnology with an emphasis in biomedical tissue engineering, and an MBA with an emphasis in finance and management. And fast forward, all hard work. And today I run a trading business. I have real estate. I have other things. And the trading business, we have 9,500 students worldwide, from Australia, Canada, Dubai, South Africa, wherever. And they all learn from me online through a platform. And it's just been this amazing thing. I have a wife and 3 beautiful kids. And, if there's anybody listening, like, true testament, if you really believe in yourself, just like yourself, right? Like, if you really believe in yourself and you put work in, man, sky's the limit. But that's a little bit about me. But yeah, and now I'm just like to hang out and be dad.
Yeah, and just like live a dream.
Live a dream.
One thing I noticed that when I kind of was like following your story, I've heard it, of course, before, but every time you hear it, it's a little bit different. But what you were going through at 19, most people go through at some, and usually it's not, maybe it's 20, 21, 22, but most people, and not necessarily like having a baby or, having but just struggle.
Everyone has their own struggle.
Facing a situation and being like, this is, and I just want to tell you this, you were saying like, I wasn't keeping up, and in my head, I'm thinking you're only 19. And I'm like, what was I like at 19, know? And so I think you deserve all the credit and grace in the world, because you were really hard on yourself. But with that being said, that's like the people who are hungry. They always say you can't measure the heart of a champion.
No,
you can't. And we're hungry, and we're entrepreneurs, and we want to learn more, and we're hungry for this information. But the difference is, I think what I'm seeing, we're having a lot of stuff go on in our economy, and we'll talk about that. But people are like waking up, and maybe this is their struggle or their moment of desperation, like you had. But what I'm finding, so Rich Dad Poor Dad is definitely a good place to start. But what I'm finding is they just don't know. Yeah,
you don't know what you don't
know.
They're
just like, but they also don't know. You went to Barnes and Noble and sat there and read the book. Like, would people do that? Some people would. Maybe that's why they're watching right now. I don't know. But like, what do you think it is? And again, it's probably such a hard question to answer, because when I ask myself this, like, what do you think it is? Everyone is just like you, but you just set yourself, like you were the 1% in the mindset. And what would you say about mindset?
Yeah, and you hit the nail on the head.
It's so hard to explain.
It is mindset, right? It's going back to high school, that's where I learned the mindset, because over there we were state champions in football. So I went to play football and I did okay there, but I really learned about having a championship mindset on and off the field, like what it really takes. It's the journey, not necessarily the result. And when I think about that stuff, like I don't think about the championship rings I have. I think about all the times and all the hard work it took. And even now I have the success and we have a nice house and we have this, we could do whatever we want. But what I relate most to is I still remember being up late and crying because I felt like I was going nowhere. And it's through struggle comes success. Yeah. Through struggle, I mean, it's just like this thing with the diamond, right? Through pressure, right? You get the most beautiful diamond. And it's the same thing now. What makes or breaks people, it comes down to mindset. It's like the Mamba mentality, right? Yep. Of like just incremental improvements every day will get you there. But you got to believe in yourself. Like throughout my entire journey, I had, even like my mom and dad, they were at first were like, especially in a Hispanic household, like, oh yeah, you don't talk about money, trading is gambling and all this different stuff. And here I am going against the edge, right? And against the curve. And sometimes you got to do that. And what really got me through, like I said, I'm not even afraid to admit it. There was date nights and stuff that I cried because I felt like I was going nowhere. But what I would always do is look myself in the mirror. And I would ask myself, do I want more? Mm-hmm. And am I doing enough to get there? And I set a plan. I wrote down my goals of what I wanted. And I'll get all emotional. No, don't. One of my biggest goals was Tay never had a room. And so one of my goals was I want to give Tay a room in a house. And... And so I worked so hard, and the day we bought our house, I was so excited. He had no idea. And we had done his room up, and we open up his door, and it's like decked out with posters and all this stuff. And I'm like, here's your room, bro. And it's that belief that you could get there that really sets you apart. But you got to believe in yourself first before anything else. And so what I would tell people is, number one, believe in yourself, write a plan and what your dreams are, and then write goals to obtain those dreams. And there's, for me, what also helped was motivational videos. There's this guy by the name of Eric Thomas. Mm-hmm. And Eric Thomas, they call him E.T. the Preacher. Yeah. And there is this video which also got me through every night that I would have a hard time. And it talked about how bad do you want to breathe. And in that video, he takes this, there's the guy that wants to be successful and he wants to learn from this guru. The guru takes him out to the ocean and he starts drowning him. And he picks him up and the guy's like, dude, what the heck? Like, why did you drown me? He's like, in that moment, what was the only thing you wanted to do? He's like, I just wanted to breathe. And he's like, if you treat everything in your life like you just want to breathe, you'll be successful. And that started to get the thing off me. Like I took no days off, no weekends, no birthdays, no holidays, no nothing, because my dreams were bigger than the celebration. And like you said, some people are unwilling to put that work in. So it's not just, hey, here's my dream, here's my plan, here's whatever. You also got to execute. And you also have to be willing to sacrifice to get to where you want to be. And if you can do those things, there's no limit.
The mindset is so important. So what I took out of that is being able, like, you were willing to pay the price just upfront in full. And the cool part is now you can say, like, you never have to pay it again now at this point. Mm-hmm. And so I just always, I'm a people watcher, and like I observe, and I just want to know what people think. And so like a champion's mindset, I don't know, tell me what you think, but I feel like you can't teach it. Like you have it, and it needs to be like brought out of you by somebody, by a mentor, by a situation, by a struggle, or you don't have it. And so only continue to watch if you have that, because he's going to give you some good stuff right now. But do you agree with that, or do you think like...
Yeah, no.
It just has to like...
Yeah, I totally agree with it. Like there's, it's this one thing. It's like there's people that come home from their 9 to 5 and then they watch TV and you're comfortable. And then there's people that come to the 9 to 5, they go to the gym, they work out, and then they try to learn a skill. Those are the people that have that champion in them. It just has to come out a little bit more. And even those that are at the 9 to 5, sometimes, you know, people need to get put into pressure. Like my son, he does basketball. I'm so hard on him. And I never play basketball, but I'm so hard on him because I'm trying to bring out what my coach used to call greatness.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And you may not, and greatness isn't necessarily like you make every single shot, but you live up to your potential, right? And, you know, it's just like Steve Harvey said, you know, everybody has this gift, right? And you can be on the hill, on top of a hill, and your gift is some wings, right? And most people are just going to stand on that hill and just watch everyone else fly.
Yeah.
And you're comfortable because if you jump, the fear is you're going to fall. And you may fall. Like throughout my journey, I have fallen so many times. You have fallen so many times. But if you keep climbing up, eventually you're going to fly. And I can't say it any other way than that, you know, but you got to believe, you got to have that, just that grit. And not everybody has it because there's a lot of people that just rather just watch everyone else be successful.
Which I just don't. And like another thing I love about, so we do money and we're going to talk about that in a bit. But one of my favorite things, like I was telling you, is I love people realizing like, wait a second, if this person can do it, so can I.
So can I. And
that's a moment where I hope that just maybe one little thing that we say, I love seeing that moment in people where they just realize like a light bulb goes off over their head, as cliche as it sounds. And they're like, wait, I can do this. And so one thing I wanted to talk about with you is, we talked about this before, but learning a new skill. So I don't know if you got this question, but I got it a lot. Remember when the pandemic hit and there was stimulus checks that were like $1,000 and I would get this question all the time on Instagram, on TikTok, my friends, my family, what should I invest in with my check? And I'm like, I think you need to invest in your mindset right now. Like, because you can go buy stock and like, maybe, you know, everyone did that Dogecoin thing where like, that was cool. I missed out on it. I don't know. But you have those like lucky breaks. Everyone's bound to get one, but unless you work on this skill. And so one thing that Rich Dad Poor Dad talks about, I want to dive into with you, is the cash flow quadrants. And what he says, this is so, so, so important. If you don't listen to it, like and I bet
out of
this
everything
is,
else.
just out of everything we talk about right now, like catch this. And I want you guys to think about, and whenever I'm talking to somebody, I'm like, think about this. Where are you? And a lot of times people think they're somewhere they're not because they just don't have a concept. So let me explain what it is. There's 4 quadrants, 1, 2, 3, 4. And what Robert Kiyosaki, the author of the book, says is that if you're on the left side of the quadrant, you will never have financial freedom and time freedom. So I get a lot of pushback on that where people say, oh, I'm on the left side and, you know, I retired. I'm like, but you worked for 50, 60 years. Yeah. So 1, 2, 3, 4, employee, you go to work. I've been here.
9 to 5.
Started here on Jamba Juice when I was 15 years old. And I went to work, and if I showed up to work, Jamba Juice or the car dealership or wherever I worked gave me, the law firm, X amount of dollars. Now, this is pretty much how 90+% of everybody is operating.
And they stay there.
Forever.
Forever.
Which is, to me, very scary. So, like, I don't know. I cannot imagine waking up. Like, I wake up, but I
Not to knock it.
Wake up. I just can't imagine. I just can't imagine it. And let's get to, because once you get a taste of it. So employees, they go to work. And the thing about it, that is, they think, oh, it's very stable, which it's not.
It's not.
It's not, because we could sit here and list off all the types of people who never thought they would lose their jobs and they're gone. But the part that gets me about that one is like, we're making somebody else rich. That's the part where I'm like, oh, it makes me. So most people do that, but there's some people who get tired of it. They're like, wait a second. And this is where I was. So I was working at a law firm. I was going to law school. I was like maybe 19, 20. I don't even remember. It's such a blur. And I would have to say, I was pregnant actually with my first daughter. She's 8 now and I'm 31. So maybe 20 something. And I would have to ask like, oh, can I leave because I'm having a pain? I need to go to the hospital. And I mean, the boss, he would say, yeah, he was great. He was a great mentor to me, but
you had to ask.
I had to ask.
Yeah.
And that makes me sick in retrospect. So what happens, people like me, some people watching this that are just like starting to get shaken up right now, they say, I'm out of there. And they think they're making a leap to the other side. And we're going to talk about the other side, which is financial freedom and time freedom. But they're only going down the quadrant to self-employed.
Self-employed.
Exactly what I did. So now with self-employed,
You're working more.
It's worse.
It's worse.
Arguably.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. You don't have to ask to go to the emergency room because you can't breathe.
It's a step above.
But the problem is when I leave, now the light bill has to still be paid. And so that's what I did. I went and I opened up a legal center. My background's law. And I went and opened a legal center and I was like, oh, I made probably the same money, a little bit more, but like I couldn't sleep. Because where's my next client going to come from? Who's going to do it? Who's going to fax the papers? Is the receptionist going to call off? Am I like, it was just worse. And so with self-employed, you basically own a job.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
you are the job.
I could charge, instead of doing it for $20, $30 an hour for the boss, I could charge $3,000, $4,000 for an estate plan. But if I didn't do it, it's worse.
Else. Yeah.
I don't know. And so people go from, so hear this. I ask people a lot of the time, what do you do? And they say, I own a business. Yeah. And I say, can you go to Mexico for 3 months and you'll still make money? And they say, no, it's not a business.
It's not a business.
And it's not to knock it, but this is just like, the person who cuts my hair. If she doesn't show up to cut my hair, no matter how much she charges me, it's you don't even get vacation time. And so anyways, what he says, this is so important, is you must break the quadrant. So we have employee, self-employed. We have to break the quadrant and get to business owner or investor. So business owner, I consider myself a business owner, not quite an investor. And I'll tell you why and I'll tell you why. But business owner is you own the system.
You own the system.
You own the system. So it runs with or without you. Yes. It takes some time to get off the ground. And that's what we've done. And it takes some time to get off the ground, but here's what people miss. To be a business owner, it's just like a little baby change from self-employed. Yeah,
it's just a small shift in the mindset.
It's like so small, it's
small
scary.
Shift in the mindset, yeah.
Because it's And so business owner is being able to say, I'm going to do something that's going to run with or without me. And so what people would tell me was like, what kind of business should I open? I had a cousin of mine say, with my stimulus check, I want to open up a car wash business. And that's so good. But if you don't know the mindset, the mentality, if you're not willing to cry at night, I don't know, it's hard to get there. And so business owner is running the system. And then last but not least, this is where I consider you, is investor, is just like, you're the whole system. You're it. You're in charge, right? And so my husband and I've worked my way from employee to self-employed, what I thought. And I finally broke the quadrant. And I'm 31 and I worked that's great. I was like thinking that was old.
No, it's good.
Well, I say that is because from like 17, 18, I was such a hustler. Like I was so like hungry and determined and gritty and no matter what, I tried to do all these things. Yeah. But if someone would have in my senior year in high school told me the cash flow quadrants, I would have been like, okay, law school is not it.
Yeah. No, yeah. 100%.
Unless I'm going to own the firm. It's just not it. Yep. I would have known.
No, yeah.
And so hopefully someone could take something from that because a lot of times we think. But anyway, so investor. So investor is when you live on your real estate investments, your biotech investments, all that. So tell us what, a lot of people say they'll watch this and, they're working a job and I want to be an investor. And that's fine, but you already said it. Like you had to be an employee and put whatever, 60, 70, 80% of your income to get there and build that up. So now what would you say to someone who's like, how do I just break the quadrant and break through learning a new skill set from an investor standpoint?
From an investor standpoint. Well, before we get there, I think there's a formula that supplements that quadrant. And what the formula was for me, and what I teach my son, who's 13, and when I teach people that become members of mine or want to have mentorship, is a lot of people, especially today, they want to quit their job. They want to quit their 9 to 5.
Right away. Immediately.
I want the remote job. I want freedom, right? And what I tell them is don't quit your job. And the formula is use your 9 to 5 to grow income. Use education like college or a trade or something, and use that to leverage for another higher paying job, right? So I use my education, my college degrees to get a high paying job. I use my high paying 9 to 5, and on the side of that, reading books and learning, and I use that money to then invest in myself, invest in my knowledge, and learn a high income skill. budget and finance, trading, investing, marketing, sales, networking, real estate, different skills that are out there, right? And learn a high income skill. And what people are like, well, what's the difference between a high income job and a high income skill? Well, the high income job is capped. Like if the manager only makes 150 and that's the highest you could probably get within the next 5-10 years, 150 is all you're going to make. Now, yes, after every year there may be a little bit of a bonus increase to might try to meet with inflation. Yeah. But a high income skill, it's limitless. It's like the other day I made 156,000 in a week.
Let's talk about that too.
Yeah, we'll talk about that too, right? And so there's no limit. But it takes a while to learn a high income skill. But once you learn it, so use 9 to 5, learn a high income skill. Use the high income skill to then fund a business or start the self-employed route first and then go towards the business route and then go towards the investment side. So you're working your way through that quadrant. And once you understand how it works, it just becomes, I call it the money machine. Mm-hmm. Because after a while, you're not going to need your 9 to 5 anymore. But if you keep it and you use that money to keep funneling into your thing, you're just growing money at a faster rate now. And then money from your investments are growing at a faster rate. Money from your real estate or whatever, it starts growing. And you start to realize the way that I look at every dollar, I look at every dollar if it's a member of my army. And I want every dollar I treat as a soldier. And their job is to do work and hit an objective for me. So it's a total shift in mindset. But to get to that investor standpoint, you need to have that income. A lot of people try to go from 9 to 5 to investor right away. Yep. And they fail. And then they just quit on everything. And they just quit. And I see it time and time again because before investor, for me, the subcomponent is trader. And trading with that, like, you know, let's just say there's a day I made $1,000, right? Okay. I can then use that 1,000, and let's say I did that for a year. There's 250 trading days in a year. Well, that's 250K. Let's say I then take that money and now I put it into my investments, and now that whole money can compound year after year, right? But I use the trading as a tool to get there. But I use the 9 to 5 to fund the trading account, right? So it all goes back and works together. But if you quit one, like most people are listening, I want to quit my 9 to 5. Well, now you're putting your efforts into something like if you go from 9 to 5 to just wanting to be a day trader, you're putting it into something that you haven't shown proof of concept of. You haven't shown consistency. And now you're putting more stress onto something that is already stressful. Whereas if you have the 9 to 5 or you have a backup, you can then, once your passion starts to produce more than your 9 to 5, then you go ahead and quit, you know. But I think that's the winning formula. And the difference between an investor and a business owner, and I still own businesses, is the investor invests in the businesses. Yeah. Right? Yep. And it's the investor, like, for example, I don't work for Apple. I'm not the CEO of Apple. So if something happened to Apple, the CEO will probably get in trouble first and then the employees or whatever. As the investor, I just put my money into Apple. And if Apple performs well, then I'm going to make money. If Apple doesn't, I'll take my money out and I'll put it into another business, right? And so the investor, you really have a lot. For me, my biggest flex, I'm a very non-materialistic person. Like, you'll never see me in a Lambo. You'll never see me in stuff. My flex is time. That's it. It is solely it. It's time. Like, this morning, I was sitting down watching cartoons with my baby, and he's going to be 2, and we're sitting there watching cartoons, and I'm just thinking to myself, man, I should be at work right now. Mm-hmm. You know? And here I'm, and then in July, we're going to go on a trip. I'm like, I would have to ask permission to go on this trip. You know, we could go on a trip tomorrow. Mm-hmm. And that, once you get to that investment business side of the quadrant, that's when you have the most time. And if you use it wisely, a lot of people, especially young people or whatever, they upgrade their job, but then they upgrade their lifestyle. Yeah, yep. Mm-hmm. And if you do that, you're never going to break even. or you're always going to break even.
It's
you're never going to get ahead. It's just more stress. But if you really use money correctly and you start to think long-term as an investor eventually, you can get there.
Yeah. So something that you've told me in the past is that you use your short-term investments. So you said you made, and it's so funny because how I learned about you is, and correct me on the numbers, but you made like, did you make $1 million in one trade?
1.67 million.
Oh, okay. Well, I was like, it sounds kind of ridiculous. But so you made $1.67 million in one trade in how many minutes?
That took the whole day. And today...
The whole day?
Oh, my phone just died. But today I was up 250 G's. And that took about 6 to 12, so about 6 hours.
Okay, this coming from the 19-year-old whose card got declined to buy diapers.
Yeah, I'm working $7.25 an hour.
Which is so, it's a literal testament to like the money game. And anybody can learn money. Anybody can do it.
Anybody can do it.
When you made $1 million, I was like, because you know my husband, he's taking your courses. And I'm like, you're going to make $1 million in 5 minutes next. And I really feel like, well, if you could do it, why can't we do it?
No.
Especially if we take your course.
Yeah, no. And that's the thing is, you know, it's so funny because when I was making $7.25 an hour, I used to like put those that made like $1,000 in a month at a pedestal because I wasn't even making $1,000 in a month, right? I was only barely making $280, right? And then when I was making $1,000, then I was like, what about the people that are making $10,000 and then $100,000? And I always put myself like, okay, this year I made $100,000. Let me try to make $100,000 in a month. All right, now I made $100,000 a month. Let me try to make $100,000 in a week. Let me try to make $100,000 in a day, and then
in 5 minutes.
And then let me try to then go. When I made my first meal, okay, how I read this by Grant Cardone, the 10x rule, right? Mm-hmm. You're only 10 multiples away from, if you start from 1,000 to making $1 million.
Yep.
And if you put in 10x effort, you'll make 10x the money, right? And so I was like, okay, how can I do this? And so when I made my first meal, and then to think, shit, I made a meal in a day.
That's crazy.
North of a meal in a day, like, but then it makes me think, you know, so one of the things that I do, I don't want to be the smartest person in the room.
Right.
I surround myself with people that are 5 to 10 times or even 20 times level ahead of me. Always, because I want to get to there. Where my $1 million a day, I have friends that make $10 million in a day, right? Or more, depending, right? And these are real big time business owners. And I want to get to that level, right? Now, I may never get there, but my goal is to try to shoot for the stars, right? And whatever. But it's so funny because we are our limiting factor. And it comes back to mindset, right? And some people can never fathom, like I get all the time, you didn't make no 20,000, and then I show them, they're like, oh my gosh. Or you didn't make no 1.6 million, and I show them and they're like, oh my gosh, how could I do this? It's just like the Wolf of Wall Street. If you watch that movie, the guy's like, Donnie's talking to him and he's like, what'd you make today? He's like, 60 G's. He's like, you show me a check right now for 60 G's, I quit my job. Yeah. And he does it and he quits the job right there. It's so funny. But it's that mindset. And a lot of us, it's just like a baby. A baby's told no so many times before it hits 1. Yeah. I can't remember what the number is. And we are programmed as people for no. We're taught the traditional thing. We're taught, we're taught to essentially kind of be a slave to the system.
100%.
We're taught to be a slave to the system. And we're taught no, you can't make 100 G's in a day, or no, you can't make this, right? Because we need employees, right? But if you get out of there, and you always got to remember too, and this is why I say don't listen to other people, is what people tell you that you can't do, that's their cap.
Yeah.
It's not your cap. So, but yeah, no, it's a crazy thing.
It's insane to think about, but it's like all I see when I'm just like, well, then that means everybody else can do it. But let's just say, when I found you on Instagram and I saw you made the 1.67, but I remember thinking like, I wonder what he went through. And I'm sure that everyone just saw the $1 million, $2 million.
Yeah.
How did you do it?
Everyone sees the top of the peak. They don't see the bottom.
And I'm like, I wonder, I didn't know your story at the time. And I'm just like, what price has he paid and for how long to be able to get there. And then same with my husband, because he's starting trading, taking your courses, doing all that stuff. I'm like, we have to pay the price. We have to learn it. There's going to be the learning curve, but eventually it has to work.
It has to work.
Right?
It has to work.
It has to work. And so with anything, specifically, we're talking about trading and things like that. So trading is short-term investing. So you made the 1.67 on a short-term investment. What did you do long-term to put that money to use and make sure in the future?
Grows. Yeah. So for us, give you guys some free game here, but don't take this like go talk to an accountant and talk to a trust attorney and all this other stuff. But once you get to a certain level of money and income, one of the things you want to do is set up a trust, right? And there's a lot of benefits to a trust, especially tax purposes for a trust. And that's where you get like the whole trust fund thing for kids, right? But for our kids, for the long term, they have their own what's called a 529 plan. And it's for college. So that's one thing that we invest long-term in. We also invest long-term in real estate. So that becomes an asset. We invest in rental properties where that property over time is going to pay itself off. And then we're going to collect passive income. And that's the one other important thing when you guys get to the other side of the quadrant as the investor. It's not so much the earned income. That's where the employee and even the self-employee they're at earned income. They have to put in work to get it. Once you get to a business and investing, you start to make passive income, and that comes passively. And you have to set up, and it's all about the system, right? So once you set up that system, but going back to it, we invest heavily in real estate. Okay. And the other thing that we invest in, which it's so crazy, but a lot of middle class, and I hate using like poor and middle class and upper class, but that's kind of how people relate it to. But if you look at the poor and middle class, which my parents lived in and I lived in the majority of my life, is we're not taught these things. And one of the other things is life insurance. And there's so many wealth hacks when it comes to that is absolutely insane. Or even like when you set up your business, your kids, depending on their age, they could become part of payroll. Your wife or your spouse could become part of payroll. You could have write-offs for certain things. And what you will learn once you start to get into money, and what I was trying to teach you guys for a second here, is a lot of people spend it, right? And they think if I make a lot of money, then I'm rich. Well, yeah, you may be rich, but what's the separation between rich and wealthy is the wealthy keep their money, and they have more time. And so it's not necessarily just how much you make, it's also how much you keep. And wealthy people utilize tools such as this and others to put their money away so Uncle Sam doesn't get it.
Yep.
And if you understand how to use the system legally, okay, you put yourself in a long-term situation where you build generational wealth. And it only takes one person in the family tree to then set the rest of their family lineage up for success.
Yep.
But you got to do it smart. And that's what we do. We have a lot of stuff is within our trust. We have a lot of real estate. We have a lot of other businesses that we invest in. We don't have to own them. We invest in them. And we collect checks. And then we have life insurance, and we have 529 plans, and we have other plans that are set up so that we harvest and put our money away. Where on paper, it doesn't look like we make a lot, right? But in reality,
it's beautiful.
you make a lot. And once you get to the investor thing, one thing that I will recommend here, and again, talk to an accountant, but once you start trading, instead of trading as an individual, you trade as a business. And then
you can do that?
Yes. And then after trading as a business, when you are investing, my long-term investments can never get touched because I'm doing them in a self-directed
I see self-directed.
IRA. And with that self-direction, I can take as many trades as I want, and that money will continue to compound. And each of my kids have their own self-directed accounts already. So then by the time they're 18 or 20, they are never going to have to work. And that's the goal. But generational wealth isn't just leaving behind all these things without the knowledge.
The mindset and the knowledge.
So all of my kids have not the 5-year-old yet because he's still a little young, but the 13-year-old, there are set requirements that he needs to keep to then have his pleasures. So he likes going to playing basketball at this very nice academy here locally. And it's a very nice academy. A lot of professional athletes and college players go there. And he's 13, so he's getting quality results. But I'm like, well, if you want to continue to go there, my requirement to you is you need to learn how to trade. You need to learn about money. And you need to be able to do this because I'm the one who set this up so that you could enjoy these things. And you got to be able to keep this up so then your kids and then their kids can continue to enjoy the pleasures of life.
Did he take to that easy? It was just really?
No.
What was it? Well, my kids are 6 and 8.
Yeah.
And I teach them little things, like saving money or when they do something, birthday money. I'm like, you can spend it, save it, or invest it. You and that's a whole another thing. But they're not older yet. So they don't have that whole depth. So what was he like? Are you serious? Or
he was just like, like a regular teen, like, oh man, Dad, I don't want to.
Thank God he's so lucky. He doesn't even realize.
Yeah. He's like, I don't want to do this, man. And like, he rolled his eyes and was like doing that. So I'm very nice right here in this podcast or this video, but I'm a very direct, like almost military style at home. Like it's, do your laundry, do this. If it's not done, you're going to get in trouble type thing. And so I'll raise my voice if I have to. So I just was like, all right, then no phone, no other stuff. And he's
that's
like,
fine, but you're not going to have all these things.
Yeah. It's like, you don't want to do this? That's fine. Just give me everything else. And he's like, no, so it's almost like I forced him. But as he started to do it, the incentive was, I'm going to give you a $2,000 account, Tay. And with that $2,000 account, I'm going to teach you how to trade. I'm going to teach you.
If only he knew what a gold that was.
Yeah. I'm like, he doesn't realize, and I have friends that have come over to the house. They're like, bro, you realize there are people that will pay $10,000 a month to learn from your dad.
More, yeah.
Or if not more. And Tay's like, all right, whatever. He
he's
doesn't
like, whatever.
He doesn't get it. But then I'm like, I'll give you $2,000. I'm going to teach you. And for every self-help book, trading, networking, coding, like things that are going to be important for the future. Every book you read, I'm going to give you $50. And with that $50, you will make the decision, because he's going to be reading these, Robert Kiyosaki books and all these other books. I'll let you be the D on what you do with that $50. Same thing. You can either spend it, save it, or invest it.
Yep.
And I tell you right now, Tay, these two, saving it and spending it, ain't doing nothing for you.
Yep.
You got to invest it.
Get you nowhere.
You got to put it into the market. And so he's learning that. And he's learning these things that are hard. The other thing that I did for him, and we started it and then we stopped it because it was really raining and winter was really bad, but I started him a very simple business. You guys can do this at home. Very simple businesses. Car wash.
Yeah.
Car wash. I bought him a pressure washer. I bought him all the towels. I bought him everything. And I had him go door to door asking the neighbors to wash their car for free. And what it's teaching him, one is teaching him salesmanship. 2 is teaching him rejection.
Yeah.
Because people are going to tell him no. And then 3, it's teaching him the value of $1 because he's going to have to I ain't washing the car. I'm going to watch you wash the car, but you ain't, I'm not washing it for you.
I invested in the business.
Yeah. And he's also going to learn providing a service for others. And that's really where money is made. If you look at the really great business people that are out there and, doing a good job. And all of those skills you can't teach in school. That's
when you were saying that, so let me just give a disclaimer. My kids go to school. They're not homeschooled. They go to a private school. And I wish I could homeschool them. It just would be a disaster. I went to school. I went to law school. I graduated law school when I was 24 or so. I had $120,000 in debt. And the reason I went to law school is, the more I think about it, is just because that's what I thought was right. Like, you go to school and
get your degree, get a high income job.
Yeah. And that's what, it's all I ever knew. So my parents, very hardworking, but also 9 to 5, corporate America, both of them. And I thought, well, I went off. I love my parents so much. Corporate, like, just great. But you just do what you see. And so how cool that your son is going to do what he sees. And my kids, I love that. But so I went to law school and I graduated and I had $120,000 debt and I had to pay Sally Mae something crazy, $2,000-$3,000 a month, like just forever. And I remember in school, I was just like, well, that's just the price you pay, you know? And I came out, and this is so crazy. I remember sitting across, just like this, my boss at the time, he had told me, like, you're going to go through law school, like, you're going to work here, you're going to, like, run the plate, whatever, you know? So I was all excited for 3-4 years. And I'm like, so how much do I get paid? Like, not knowing. I'm like 23 or 24, I don't remember. And he said, we'll talk about it. And I was like, wait, how much do I get paid? And because then I started blindly. Here I am 4 years later. I also had my degree in criminal justice and like just school, work, just giving it all I got, not sleeping. Like I gave it all I got. I just did, which a lot of people do. And he told me, keeping in mind, I was paralegal. So I knew the attorneys there were working 60, 70 hours a week.
Yep.
And guess how much he told me I was going to make in Ventura County as an attorney?
100?
$65,000. And I was like, I remember thinking in my head, I don't know, when I was younger, like In-N-Out was the craze. Like you could work at In-N-Out and make like fit. I'm like, I could make that at In-N-Out. I could literally, and in that moment, I'll never forget. I was sitting across from his big desk. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to be an attorney. Like, and I just got my degree. Like, what am I going to do? I remember just knowing, but not knowing anything at all. And then that's when I discovered Rich Dad, Poor Dad and the cash flow quadrants and stuff like this through going to a seminar that I was just like, I'm desperate. I'm hungry for information. I want to learn. And that's how I learned about it. And so as I look back, this is again a personal opinion. I prefer that my kids don't go to school. That's just my preference, unless they want to do something like in engineering, maybe a teacher. If they have a passion and a calling for that, I mean, I don't know. I guess I have to say it would be fine, but I hope that they see. I just can't imagine going anywhere for 8 hours a day and working for somebody else. And I get so mad because in the school system, I'm like, what? I asked my daughter, what do you guys do all day? Like, what is it like? No, you don't learn negotiation. No. You don't learn customer service. No. You don't learn marketing. No. You don't learn rejection. That was such a good one that you said. And so I have to teach them that here, but they learn algebra, which I've never used algebra in my life. And I never, and so I always say like school is such a scam and I get so much heat on the internet for it. But I'm like, we go to school from 3, 4, 5 until we're 24, 25. And we're paying to do it, by the way. I paid $100,000 plus to not learn anything, which I came out and just needed experience. And then I get mad. I get mad at the fact that I know she should respect authority, and this is just ridiculous. I get mad that she has to raise her hand to go to the bathroom. Like, that upsets. I know it's order and it would be chaos without it, but I'm like, or I have to like schedule her dentist appointments around. It just like, I just get so mad. And then I'm like, I hope she doesn't go to college. And then to pay to do it all over again, to come out to make $65,000 a year, to work 60 hours a week as an employee.
No, I totally get it.
So my question is, do you want your kids to go to school? Is it like, that's a rough one because you get a lot of heat for saying the stuff I say.
Yeah, no. So
I appreciate teachers so much, by the way.
Oh, no, yeah. 100%.
So much.
I'm a little different because my journey is what has me biased, right? And for me, if I didn't have the education and I didn't have the high income job, then I wouldn't have had the luxury to pay to learn high income skills or expedite funding my business, right? So in that sense, I'm a bias of, yes, I think it's important for school still. Yes, I think it's important to have a job. And the reason I say that too is because not everybody, just like we talked about in the beginning, has it in them to be a business owner or investor
right away, or
right
just
away,
like,
or just in general, right? Like they don't have it in them. Like there's people like for Tay, for example, he is a very hardworking individual. And he has the champion in him. I don't even have to he may not be the best athlete, but he has the hard work, the grit, the effort, and you can just see he doesn't take failure. And it's the same thing with me. And so I know he's going to be very successful in life. He has it in him. There's another kid there that goes, and you could tell he doesn't want to be there. You can tell he doesn't practice when he's not there. You can tell he's just there because his mom has him go there. And that kid is the lazy kid who's going to be the person, once they get their 9 to 5, is going to be the comfortable person.
Yeah, I'm just going to stay here. Yeah.
I'm just going to stay here. And that's completely fine. If that's how he wants, he or she, and whoever's watching this, that's how you want your life to be. There's nothing wrong with having the 9 to 5, having a degree, having a job.
Right.
But there's a lot more to it. There's the freedom part. There's your gift and being able to fly. Of my 3 kids, I'm going to teach them everything that I know. But depending on their personality, depending on their mindset, I may have one of them end up working a 9 to 5 because they don't have it in them at their core to be able to be a business owner or an investor. And that's okay.
They find their way.
They'll find their way in a different space. So I do say, school is important. I do say having a 9 to 5 is important. But I always look at things as, for me personally, I always have looked at things as leverage.
Yeah.
I use my degrees to leverage a high job. I use my high job to leverage funding a trading account and funding a business. I use that to then fund other things that build me time and buy back time, right? So I've always used things. Now, the one thing I will say that you can get, but not to the same extent, is networking in college. And the amount of people you meet at college in one place is more than what you can meet. Because I'm a hermit. I like to stay home. I like to do things. And so, like, if my kids just follow me, they'll never meet anybody.
Just be all
we'll just be in our nice house, and they'll never meet anybody. But networking, like, again, leverage, right? Leverage your experience, leverage people that you meet, and you never know who it is that you come across that turns into a business opportunity or something. There's people in college that I met that now work for me, or they do something, or I need them for their service that they have, and you build something. So I think college is really, really great for that. At least the way that I utilized it. But
it's a great
it's just like anything. How you use something is different for every individual, right? Like, we have a home gym. There's other people that have home gyms. Some people don't use their home gym. I use my home gym, right? So it's how you use those things to build your experience. Again, though, with the goal of, for the people that want it, freedom.
Yeah.
Right. So, but to answer in short, yes, they're going to go to school. Yes, they're going to work a 9 to 5. And I want that because I want them to see one thing that I've always learned, especially being a business owner, especially being an investor, is you need to be able to relate to your employees. Right.
Like, know what they're going through.
Know what they're going through. Right. And just like that's what makes me successful for one of my businesses, which is teaching people how to trade, is I've been in so many of other people's shoes, of being a single parent to being a college student that couldn't even afford food some days because I had to spend money to buy gas to go to school. Being a parent, college student, being in corporate America and trying to get into trading, having a family and trying into trading. So there's so many shoes that I parallel that I can relate to when I have these engagements with people. It's personal. And the same thing with my business and other businesses, I relate to my employees because I have been in their shoes in a sense when I used to work retail or used to, do stuff. So I always think a great CEO at one point was a janitor or has been through that struggle. And because I've also seen, especially in corporate America, when people just go from school and they come in at these high jobs thinking they have these high degrees and they can't relate to their employees because they were never one. They were never one. So they don't understand their struggle. And It's the same thing with business or anything in life. And so for that sense, I want them to go through that journey. And that's actually a requirement in our trust, is they don't get their trust money until they've graduated college.
Wow.
And that they don't, and that for Tay, that he has to have started like some type of job, and then he gets his money. So they don't get their money until like they're fucking 25 or 30.
So they're not just be like trust fund babies.
They're
They're
not
going
just
to know what it's
they,
like.
They have to really put in the work and effort, because the last thing I want to do is let them piggyback just off of me. I want them to struggle. I want them to go through it, because they're going to appreciate it that much more.
That's such a good perspective. Okay, I want my kids to go to the It's so interesting to see the different perspectives, and just everybody's at such a different stage in life. So now what I want to talk about, and this is selfishly, I want to talk about it because we haven't talked about this. You $100,000 in a trade and $1.6 million in a day. Like I follow your stuff. I see it all the time. What does a day look like for you? Like, what are your kids seeing? What is it? And then I want to kind of go into, again, like, what if someone wants to learn this skill? So if someone had a stimulus, I'd be like, get mentored by the StockMarketWolf, and that's how I would spend it and learn these things. But what does a day look like for you? And what are some important habits? Like you said, the words consistency and all these things that, because we think that, and I've seen it. I see it on TikTok. I see it where people, I've been trading for 30 days and it's just not realistic. It's like, we have to put in the work. We have to go through the process. We have to learn it, take the course, have the bad days, have the good days. So what does a day look like for you on your own? And I'm sure it's a lot like working with people. And I know you've put a lot of, which is so awesome that you show others how to do it. Not a lot of people can do that. Like, a business owner is not going to say, hey, let me teach you how to run the business unless it's like his kid.
Yeah.
But you can go so far, but not past them. And what I love, and this, you can't say this about many things, is that you can teach people how to do exactly what you're doing, have the time freedom. And so what does that look like on a day-to-day for you? So
for me, what it looks like is I'll get up early in the morning, do my, basic routine. But
what is your basic routine?
So I'm gonna get that.
Oh, I'm like, that's important.
So get up, obviously, brush teeth, I'll put my clothes on. But one of the things that I started to incorporate was working out in the morning. And I work out in two different things. So I work out my body, right? So, jump rope, or like a quick hit workout, like 20 to 30 minutes, and really sweat, right? And then I train my mind. So I'll read a book for a little bit, or sometimes I'll meditate. So I'll just have some music playing and just kind of close my eyes and just get all the bad thoughts out and just zen out. Right? You know what I mean? And then take a nice cold shower. Cold as shit. Like super cold.
Joe's been doing that lately, and I'll hear him like, like, what's going on?
Yeah, super cold. And it wakes me up and I feel fresh. I put my clothes on, I do my hair, do my beard, and I'm good to go. And I do that all before the market opens, which the market opens at 6:30. So I try to get up at 5 so I could do all that and be done by 6, take a quick shower, get ready, come downstairs, open up my laptop, or in this case, go to my office, have my PC on, have my different screens, and then I start trading. And when I'm trading, I'm sharing a screen, telling people, what I'm looking at. All the students, and we do a live Zoom, so they all join on Zoom. So it doesn't matter if I have one student or 100,000 students. It makes no extra work on me.
The same thing for you.
It's the same thing for me, because I was going to trade regardless, right? And they'll trade with me, and depending on once we make our money, sometimes we'll make money within the first half hour. After that first half hour, I'm done. I'm like, all right, guys, we made 20 to 30% on our money today. Go enjoy the rest of your day.
They're all happy.
I'm going to go have breakfast. Yeah, they're pumped. Yeah, they're super pumped. Like today, I think somebody made like $8,500 within the first 45 minutes today. And
that's so awesome. It's literally because of you and what you've done.
It's so crazy. But I just put the tools, and then they got to do the right thing. Of course. But it's so cool. And so we'll make our money, and then after that's done, I'll go. Now what we do is we go on a walk. So Once I'm done with the online, and I only do like I said, anywhere between half an hour to 2 hours max, depending on how long it takes for us to at least make 20%. That's my goal for everyone to try to make, is at least somewhere between 10 to 20% on the day. Once I've fulfilled that, I'm done. My job is done. And now,
so really quickly, even someone who's, let's just say they're going to come into it, because a lot of times, but I don't have the money, I don't know where to start. $1,000, you're making a couple $100.
Yeah, $1,000 can translate to $100 a day. $100 a day for 252 trading days is $25K at the end of the year.
It's a lot.
It's a lot of money. You could do it. That's a nice vacation to Hawaii.
Mm-hmm.
Like first class, like nice hotel, like it's nice. Right?
And that's like bare. I mean, they can get out of debt. Yeah. They can start a business. Yeah, there's so many things you could do with $25K. That's just how I would spend my $25K. Invest it long term.
I'll go to Hawaii.
Yeah. Me too. I'd go to Mexico.
Yeah, and so. I finish that. Walks. Then I go on a walk. So me and my wife, the kids are at school. So she takes the kids.
She's got them off to school.
She's got them off to school already. So when she comes home, we go on our nice little walk with the baby. We'll do like, somewhere between a 2 to 3 mile walk, just around the neighborhood. It's always funny because we always talk about it, like not every walk, but every once in a while we'll talk about like, man, I remember when we were younger going through stuff, because she was with me when Tay was 6 months old. So she's been there when I had nothing. The whole time. And we talk about how funny it is because when we used to go around this neighborhood, we were like, oh my God, this would be a dream to live here. And we live here, and it's just like such a cool feeling, And so like we just enjoy it. So we have our walk, we come home, we have breakfast. We hang out with the baby. He goes down for a nap. She goes and does her stuff. She's into real estate, so she just got her license, and she's learning accounting for her own self. Just so she's
so smart and skill,
just stacking skills. Right? I'm like, you could have, babe, go learn skills.
Anything you want
to learn. Go do whatever you want to do. She'll do that, and then I will start taking sometimes one-on-one calls. So I have clients. I have a lot of various clients. I have, your college student. I even have a 16-year-old whose mom wants me to teach him. So I have from the age of 16 till like 65. And actually, I think my oldest student is 68. And from everywhere in the world, in all different walks of life, student, employee, doctor, lawyer, dentist, business owner. I have VPs at Amgen, just different things.
People are hungry to learn.
UFC fighters, NBA players, MLB players, NFL players. And how I treat each client is the same. You take my course, you come and learn, you come and trade with me. And then there's the ones that want the more premium, right? Like the NFL players, the NBA players, some of the VPs, they want more personalized time. Or there's the occasional person who wants one-on-one time. So I'll take one-on-one appointments, and they're for an hour. So I'll do that. I only do about 2 to 3 of them per day because I want my time with my family. Usually I cap it at 2, and I'll do that. I'll go and pick up the kids. Once I pick up Tay and Reese from school, then I'm full-time dad. I'm full-time dad. So Reese has practice, and Tay has his practice at his academy that he goes. And then after that, we go and enjoy dinner, and we hang out. We'll go to the beach a lot. So once they're home, once Tay's done with practice, everyone gets together in the car. We go to the beach. We just hang out, and that's it. And sometimes, instead of me and Kai going on a walk, we'll take the baby to the beach.
Yeah, something.
Yeah, we'll just go out and do something. And then when they're not in school, and this is the problem with, still wanting them to go to school, which I think is extremely fucking important. But when they're out of school, that's when we have our fun. So like on the weekends, we'll do a nice little vacation somewhere. Make sure to get it in a nice cool. I'm really big on views. So like I like to have my view of the beach or like the view of the entire city or something. And then when they're on their spring breaks or they're on their summer breaks, we'll do the big vacations. We'll do like the Hawaii trips or whatever and just totally enjoy. And when I do those, I'm completely detached from this.
Yeah.
I'm completely detached from this. I don't worry about business. I have other people that can do it for me. I don't worry about anything. I just focus on my kids. And like I said, that's the biggest flex for me. It's like I And we could, if they didn't have school, we could take vacation for a whole year or longer, right?
You just probably live on vacation.
We would just probably live on vacation, travel all the world. In which that is my goal. Once the kids are old enough, you know, I have a 2-year-old, so it's going to be a while, but just travel.
That's the end goal for you.
Just travel.
Time freedom, financial freedom.
Just freedom. We already got it. Just freedom. Like, I have friends that are like, well, let me know what your schedule is.
You're like, it doesn't matter. Just tell me when.
I'm like, you tell me when you want to hang out and meet, and I'll make it happen. Like, if you're important to me, I make time for you.
Yeah.
If you're not important to me, I won't make time.
You're like, I can't do this today.
But for people that are wanting to get into it, which is the second question.
Let's talk about that, because I think that just seeing this. So let's talk about for a second. Seeing this. I mean, you can't come on here and like give strategies or anything like that, because it's also complex. Yeah. But I would hope that someone was like, you know what? I want to learn something. Yeah. And for me, so I'm the type of person, I always see, like, everywhere I go, I just see opportunity. I'm just like, what can I learn? What can I learn? What can I learn? And, or for whatever, like, what can my kids do? Can my kids, you know, what can my husband, how can we do this? And so if I, you know, my focus is on my business and things like that. But even for my husband, what is the most profitable thing that someone can do right now? And we'll talk about like the state of the economy. You know, what do you think is going to happen with the economy? It's not going to be good.
Yeah.
And you could give us your take on that. But going into this, it's opportunity.
Yes.
It's just strictly opportunity. And actually I want to learn. I like how you said your wife learned. My husband does the trading side of this stuff, but I would want to learn the market.
Yeah.
I would want to learn how to completely maximize and learn to do, you know, and be a part of that. And so if you're feeling like, you know, you're just looking for something, kind of like when you were going into the store or to Barnes & Noble, you're like, I'm just looking for something. I really think this could be it for a lot of people, which is why I wanted to have this conversation with you, because people can have this along with their 9 to 5 or going through college or being 60 years old and saying, how am I ever going to stop working? I didn't plan for retirement. It's just, it hits every single person across the board.
And it's recession proof.
Yeah. So going into it, if someone's like, I want to like learn about this, what's next? And we'll put links and stuff below so they can contact you.
So what's next? Obviously, if you want to learn directly from me, the website StockMarketWolf.com.
Okay.
That's the only place I do business, which I have so many fake Instagram accounts that try to copy. And so I will never DM you. Just go to StockMarketWolf.com. That's the only place. Now, what you'll get courses that will teach you from like knowing nothing to be able to trade with me. And then you will trade with me Monday through Friday, or when I do it. I try to do it every day. I don't, there's some weeks I got something, you know, where maybe I only get 3 sessions in, but I try to do my best to be there every day. And you learn. And I use the concept crawl, walk, jog, run.
Okay.
So crawling, get your education, learn. Walking is practice in a controlled environment. So a controlled environment for trading is practicing in what is called a simulator.
Okay.
The simulator is exactly what the name says. It's going to simulate what a real account would look like. Except the money is paper money.
Oh, it's not real.
It's not real. But everything else is real in terms of like how you use that platform is going to directly 1-to-1 correlation with what a real account is going to be. Okay. So the benefit there is you get to learn your timing. You get to learn how to do all the charting and understand the platform and get familiar with your platform so that you could be efficient with it. It's just like, you know, other things. And once you get there, then there's the jogging step. Now, the one thing in the simulator step, even if you try to do it and think of it as being real, you know subconsciously it's not. So there's a little more
edgy, probably.
There's an emotional detachment. And so when you lose, it's not as big of a deal.
Right.
Well, when you lose your own money, it's a big deal. So that's where the jog comes in, where, you know, let's just say you were able to save $5,000 and you wanted to start trading. I would say use only 100. Really? $100 of that in a trade. This way, if you lose that 100, are you going to have to sleep on the couch? No. No, you're going to be good. Are you going to get a divorce from that? No. Well, if you used 100,000 and you saved up your whole life savings and you lost it all
because you thought you knew,
are you going to sleep on the couch? Your stuff is probably going to be outside good. And they're probably going to get a divorce, right? Mm-hmm. So start small, start jog, right?
That's so important.
Start jogging, right? And so with that, I ask my students to start small and use only like $100 or no more.
Do they ever go against what you say?
Of course.
They're like, I'm fine.
And I could talk about those stories too. And, and you start small, and now the reason you start small is because regardless of if it's $100 or $1,000 of your own money, because it's your own money, there's now an emotional attachment. Yeah. And what makes or breaks traders is their mental. Ego, fear, and greed. Mm-hmm. Ego being the biggest killer of them all. And so once you get that stuff in check and you're jogging at a good pace and you're being consistent and you're making consistent money and you've shown proof of concept, then you can start to run. And running is just scaling up how much you're playing with.
That's so important.
It's so important. And those are such strong steps to take. And if you can do that and get past that, a lot of people can't get past it because their own mental's in the way. Yeah. Or they don't want to follow that process and they just want to go from crawling to then running. Mm-hmm. And I've had people, and I'm a very transparent person. I've had people that have taken their kids' college tuition that they've saved up for years.
That's so sad.
And I had this lady, it was like 125K. Her first day trading, she made 35 racks. And I was like, there's no way. And I was like, even in the live stream. And like I said, I'm very blunt. I will cuss at people. I will yell at people, because I take this very serious. Yeah, this is a very serious thing. And I'm like, what the F are you doing using and making that much money? Like, there's no way.
You have no business doing this.
You have no business doing this. You're gambling. What you're doing is gambling. You're not trading, you're gambling. There's a totally different approach. And she was like, I made 35K. The following day, she made 50. And so I'm like, all right, I don't know what I'm talking about, do you?
Oh, right? Yeah, okay. Yeah, and how much did she lose the next day?
So that week, she doubled her money.
Okay.
So she was at 250 Gs.
Okay.
By Wednesday the following week, it was all gone.
Yeah, that's what I was waiting for.
All of it was gone. And I'm getting a call the day after, Andrew, I lost all my money. What do I do? I was like, what do you want me to do for you? I was like, you want me to give you your money that you lost? Like, I'm not going to
What am I supposed to do?
I'm not responsible for your trades. And I opened up I can see everybody's account. So, and not their trading account, but I can see everybody's educational account. So I opened up her education platform, and I said, "You haven't even watched one course."
Oh, you can see how far in
the progression.
So she was guessing, or
she was just going in there and just when I would say I was in something, she would put all her money into it. Oh. And so, or she wasn't even listening to me sometimes and just gambling, right? And like, if I'm saying I'm out, she's like, well, I think it's still going to go up. And, just different stuff like that. And so she was just gambling. She was just closing her eyes and just picking. And I was like, you haven't watched any education. You haven't followed any of the risk management that I teach. You totally gambled. So like, I can't help you. Like, sorry. It's at the point of my job of helping you was setting you up and going through the structure. And if you didn't want to follow that, like, it's not on me, Even if you follow the structure, there's still people that lose because they can't get out of their own mental, and I'm not responsible for that.
Yeah, you're just there to give them the resources.
I'm just there to give them the resources. I give you the tools. What you do with the tools is up to you.
Yeah, you can.
But I've also had the other flip side of things where I've had students go. One of my favorite is this guy who was living in a van, had $5,000 to his name. Within 3 years of being with me, has a condo making north of $100,000 a year.
It's huge.
Within 3 years, huge. Totally transformed and changed his life. I've had best friends being able to buy a down payment for their home, engagement rings, take their family on a nice trip. They've never been on a trip before in their life. Just various life-changing. My very first student, and I'm not going to take full credit for him because he did all the work. I just introduced him. His name's Jake Ritchie, and he was my first student, and he's I consider him like a brother from another mother.
He's really cool. We love him.
I'm always going to respect that guy. And if you guys want another mentor, Jake Ritchie,
he's so awesome.
You have to check him out. And so he was my first student, but he used the knowledge, and then he learned other knowledge from other people.
He just piled it on.
He got other mentors, and he comprised all that and started his own thing and became his own person. And he has a 7-figure business now. He's a 7-figure trader. And he went through struggle to get there. And again, I don't take any credit for him other than I just barely introduced him to the market.
Pulled the greatness out of him.
You know, but he did it all himself. And I don't take any credit for any student because it's up to the student to put in the work and put in the effort. Your results are a direct 100% correlation to you. Like they're not have nothing to do with me. It has everything to do with you. And he's true testament of that. And there is countless others that, like I said, there was somebody today that made north of $8,500. I have no responsibility to that.
Yeah, of course I am.
You know, so there's the downside and there's the plus side, and the ones that really make it, just like anything in life, are the ones that are putting in the work. But
I think that everything you said is so important because I mean, I've never dug into your course. I'm gonna be honest. I know you as a person and like see what you do and know your story. But sometimes there's a lot of people out there selling courses, and the way I see it, because I look for it, it's just, you know, make $1,000 in 5 minutes. Like that's how they market it. But I really like how real you're being and saying like we're gonna have to go through these steps, and it sounds like it's all mindset. I mean, obviously,
a lot of it's mindset. 90% of it's mindset.
Okay, I was gonna throw out a random number, but I don't know. Yeah, but it is because so if you can develop that mindset and then say, I'm gonna learn this skill, it just feels like everybody should do it. Like
it's there, and if you use it right, just like Jake and other people, and you then take that money and start investing and thinking long term and really understanding how to put money now to work for you, it just puts you at a whole nother level. But it's just like, I don't want to use the word because I don't, you know, it's going to be on YouTube and stuff, but it's just like owning a tool. Like everyone can have this tool, like, but not everybody should use it.
Right. Exactly.
You know? Same thing with trading. Fair. It's a tool. Everybody can do it. Not everybody should, you know, because there are some people that just get in their own way. But if you're the person that can learn it, can do it, can control your own emotions and ego, it could be a very good start to
like a catalyst.
A catalyst. That's the word I was looking. It's a catalyst to propel you. And it was a catalyst for me. It was a huge catalyst for me. Once I got the investments and I actually started the opposite. I invested first, and once that grew, I was like, how can I do this faster? But it became now a huge catalyst to everything else that I have.
Jeez, it's so cool to hear. And it's so interesting how like your story and everything you've come from, but your mindset is what stands out to me the most. Of like, we haven't even talked about like a trade or anything. It's your mindset that's so important. And I think it's so awesome that so many people can be coached by you and mentored by you and all of these things. So with that being said, this is so good. I'm so happy my husband's coached by you and mentored by you. We're so lucky and so grateful. So what we plan to do, and just I think this is a good example, is so our business is we do financial services. You know all this. But we help people with long-term investments. And things like, do I have life insurance in case something happens to me? Because like you said, the stock trading is not long-term. And when I was kind of thinking of this morning and what we were going to talk about, I know somebody, and this is so sad, but he was very big in the market and just very knowledgeable, and he did stock trading. And I don't know the exact days, but it wasn't good. And he had a bad month, and it was so bad he didn't want to tell his family, and he took his own life. And I see stuff like that, and I just, you know, we're human. I'm like, what? Like, why did he think? Why did it get so bad that he thought that, or what? You know, and it makes me think about like the depth of the stuff that we do as it relates to money, and people take their own lives over money. All the time. Divorce, like just mental health. And a lot of times people say like money's not everything, which I agree it's not. And it can't buy happiness. Although there are studies that show, there are studies that show that people with money are statistically linked to higher levels of joy and happiness. But that's a whole another conversation. But I just want to emphasize on how important it is to, like, this is not just like a game. Like,
it's not a game. That's why I take
we
it
call
so
it the money
serious.
game, but like, this is,
It's not a game.
It's
I don't
real.
play. Yeah.
It's real life. It's saying like, I'm going to be 19 years old and change it all for my family, or I'm going to be the one to put things in place. I'm going to give it all I got, and I'm going to wake up and take a shot. Like, this is just not, it's just a lot. I feel like a lot of people out there just take it so lightly. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, I'm a guru. No. Oh, pay $1,000 for my course. Oh, and I used to buy the courses because I wanted to like know, and I wanted to learn from this person and learn from that person. And so our plan, just from what you've come in and done, like with our lives, is we run a business where we do financial services. So long-term investments like retirement, generational wealth. And we're going to talk about all that. We talk about it all over the channel, but life insurance, making sure if something happens to you,
you're set.
Everyone's okay and no one's having a GoFundMe, and GoFundMe is not a strategy. And so as always, we can strategize on those things. But for the short-term side, like I'm so intrigued by it, because the word catalyst, like we not everyone operates the same, but my husband, like taking this and being the catalyst is just what's the word? It's expediting.
It expedites.
Catapulting, I don't know the word, into all this other stuff, more life insurance, more long-term investments, more real estate. And it all is equivalent to, if we go back to the cash flow quadrants, being able to have time freedom.
Yes.
And so I think that anybody watching this, like, I hope you take it serious. I hope you pick up on a couple things. Even there was just things you said where I'm like, oh, that's so good. I wish I had my pen to write it down. Little things and mindset and dedication. And so we're going to put all your information down in the bio and make sure that anyone can get a hold of you and take the course. We're really grateful for it. We're just kind of starting out, I'd say like maybe 6 months in, but we also recognize it's not going to happen overnight. But it's something that we take really serious. So we're excited.
I'm excited.
We'll have you back on for sure, because I want to go in depth in some more things as we learn more. But thank you for being on. Is there anything last minute you want to say?
No, nothing last minute. Only thing I will say is, the sooner you guys can put things into action and find mentors such as ourselves or people that are credible, the sooner you can propel yourself. Now, you can do everything on your own. Like, you could go the hard way and read books like I had to, but it's going to cost you time. And or you could get a mentor and learn from both of us and expedite that learning curve, right? But you have to be willing to put in the effort. But I think if you guys really, what I tell my son is, if you really want something bad in life, you'll find a way to get it. Yeah. If you kind of want it, all you're going to find and make are excuses why you don't have it. So some of you guys right now really want something, or you have this goal, go out and get it. Do the things that are necessary to get it. And there are good people that are out there that will help you along the way. So thank you so much for this. And thank you guys for those that listened, and wish everybody success.
We'll see you guys soon.